Can we take a quick second to talk about the apron that I'm wearing?
I asked for it.
And I thought, because I'll wear it. I'll wear it when I have my kitchen days. But I haven't worn it yet, and I've had numerous kitchen days.
Show it to you here. It is my chicken apron,
but it's a really weird material. It kind of feels like a shower curtain. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Sherry and this is Gardening in the North. So today is going to be a kitchen day. I haven't done a kitchen day video with you ever. And I'm not even sure if you want to see this, but I thought, you know, everybody does their kitchen days differently. And there might just be a couple little things that I do that you might say to yourself, that's going to save me some time. Or you know what, I never thought of doing it like that. Or maybe you just want to watch me doing a kitchen day. Whatever it is, welcome. So I harvest a whole bunch of stuff from my garden. A couple days ago in my second garden tour, a couple days prior to that, I harvest a lot of garlic scapes. And so I just thought, why not preserve it all today? If I don't start preserving it as I harvest it, then it's going to pile up. And before I know it, things will start going bad and I will have ruined the harvest that I harvested. So a couple things that I like to do to prep for my kitchen day is I like having a full pot of coffee. For any of you that know me personally, know that I sip coffee all day. So I constantly am warming up my coffee. I'm sipping it. I'm adding a little bit to it. I just like to have it. So I make sure that I have a full pot of coffee so that I can do that all day. I'm not going to be taking time away from what I'm preserving. The second thing that I like to do is make sure that the kitchen is clean. So normally I would run the dishwasher the night before. When I wake up in the morning, I would empty it. I forgot to put the dishwasher on last night. So I still have a few dishes in the sink that I'm going to wash up. I want to make sure that that's all done before I start the day. I'm going to make sure that the counters are clean. I've seen some crumbs from breakfast. So I want to make sure that's all cleaned up. And then I want to get all my ingredients out. I want to make sure that everything that I'm doing today, I have all my ingredients out on the counter. That way I'm not searching for something that I need and then something else that maybe is on the stove or the smoker or whatever it might be is getting overdone. So what are we working on today? So like I mentioned, I have garlic scapes, and so I am going to put them on the smoker. We are going to smoke them, then dehydrate them, then blend them into a smoked garlic powder. I harvested a whole bunch of the little onions off of the Egyptian walking onion stalks. So I'm going to pickle them just like pearl onions so that when we make Caesars, we can throw them in the Caesar, throw them on the little stick that goes in the Caesar. When we do a charcuterie board, we can throw them in a little dish, put them on the board. It's going to be amazing. I harvested a whole bunch of rhubarb, so we are going to be making rhubarb banana bread. I harvested a truckload of peppers, so we are going to chop some of them up for kebabs for tomorrow. The rest of them are going to go into the freezer for when my tomatoes are ripe and I can make salsa. Then I'll pull those back out of the freezer and throw them into the pot. We picked 8 cups of raspberries, and so there are probably 3 times that still out there that can probably be harvested today because we harvested those 8 cups 3 days ago. So I know that there are more out there. So the ones that I have today, I'm actually going to freeze them, show you how I do that so that they don't clump together when you want to pull them out at a later date. And we are also going to be making zucchini soup. So let's get started. the kitchen day today is getting the garlic into the food processor, getting it all chopped up, getting it onto the trays and out to the smoker. They're gonna have to be in the smoker for roughly an hour, hour and a half. I've never made this before, so this is new to me. All of the recipes, videos that I've watched leading up to this day have kind of varied. And so basically what I wanna do is I wanna keep checking it every 30 minutes. I wanna make sure that the pieces are, you know, not getting crispy, but lightly browned, and that they're getting soft, because that's what you want. You want the smoke to be going into the garlic. Now, I could just throw the garlic scapes out there like this, but my thoughts are, I have a food processor. Why don't I throw them in there, chop them up? That will actually shorten the amount of time that I need to have it on the smoker, so then I can get them into my food dehydrator. So let's go start the smoker and then let's start chopping these up. This is our smoker. I don't know too much about it. We ordered it off of Amazon for my husband last Father's Day. He seems to love it. So obviously this is the grill. This is where I'm going to put the sheets of chopped up garlic. And this in here is where all the pellets go. So I'm going to go grab some more pellets, throw them in there, fill it up. Wanted to show you how to start it. So first we are going to turn it on. We are going to put it on to smoke. We're going to leave it on smoke for a little bit. I'm going to go chop up the garlic scapes, and then I will turn it up to about 225 and leave them on here for an hour and a half. Like I said, I will check them every 30 minutes just to make sure. Now, the instructions for this are all written here, so it was easy for me. I didn't need to have my husband here to show me how to do it. It does say that you should start it with the lid open. So I had both lids open just to be sure. And there we go. And like I said, we got this smoker for my husband for Father's Day last year. I'm gonna cut these probably into 4s so that they fit into the food processor better, so I can chop them up quicker and get them onto the trays. The trays that I bought are just these trays from the dollar store. I wasn't gonna buy any trays. I was actually just gonna use cookie sheets that I have. But then I thought, and I haven't even checked yet to see if these fit, but I was thinking that if I use these trays and I put a little bit of parchment paper on it, I can actually take these trays straight from the smoker and slide them into my dehydrator. No mess, no fuss. I'll be able to just put them in there as opposed to trying to now transfer them onto the dehydrator sheets. So that's my plan. Fingers crossed. Like I said, I haven't made this before. So we're gonna try that. Yeah, so let's get chopping. So like I mentioned, I'm just going to rough cut them. They don't need to be in any particular size. I just want them to be a size where it's a little bit easier to get them into the food processor. Oh my Lord, there's so many of them. Okay, oh, the smell of cutting them alone. Oh my, okay. So for those of you that have never grown garlic scapes before, but you've grown garlic before, and you're wondering why your garlic never produced scapes, that's because you most likely were growing soft neck garlic, and garlic scapes only grow from hardneck garlic. So the great thing about hardneck garlic is that you get these amazing scapes. So you basically get to harvest from the garlic twice. So you get to harvest the scapes, and then you get to actually harvest your garlic. And the thing that I really like about garlic scapes, or hardneck garlic is what I should say. What I like about hardneck garlic is that they are plants that make your garden look really lush and green, because the actual stalks of the garlic are hard. They stand up tall. And so you have this really nice greenery up against wherever you've planted them. They don't fall down and lay in your garden and make it look kind of messy looking. They're really nice. So I've always liked growing the hardneck garlic for that reason alone. I mean, putting aside the fact that you get garlic scapes, right? And so every year I try to use the garlic scapes for something. I never want to waste them, because again, it's the first harvest of your garlic. And you want to make sure that you're using everything. Otherwise, why are you growing it? So we're just going to do a couple more here and get them in the food processor. And for those of you that have made this, or you've made pesto, for those of you that are very familiar with garlic scapes and you have other recipes, please leave them down below in the comment section. I would love to know what other people, or how other people are using their garlic scapes. Last tray going out onto the smoker, and I've got to like step over puppies. Okay, and the last one. Okay, take a look at that. All right, so that is probably 75% of the garlic scapes that I pulled from about 400 plants. Pretty awesome. All right, so garlic scapes are on the smoker now. That part of the kitchen day is done. We still have a lot of things to do. I think what I want to do is head back inside and do a couple of the quicker things. So I want to start the soup, because I know that I can chop up things fairly quick, get that going. I also wanted to start on the rhubarb banana bread, because that again is quick. I can get that in the oven. And then I'll make my decision on whether I'm going to do the peppers or the pickled onions, because I know with the onions, if you've ever peeled onions that are like literally that little, it's going to be a long, tedious job, and kind of want to feel accomplished by getting some of the other easier tasks done. So let's start with the soup. Okay, so we are going to start the soup. First thing that I always do is put a little bit of oil, or you could use butter. I throw onions and garlic into the pot, and I just saute that up a little bit. At which point then I will add my broth. I have some homemade broth in the freezer, so I'll pull that out. I forgot to do that. So I'll pull that out while this is sauteing. I always add a lot of my spice to my soup at the end. So I add, you know, all of my vegetable ingredients, my broth, some water. I'll add a little bit of salt and pepper to it. But really the real spices that I'll add to it usually come after I've tasted it, just to see what all of those flavors I've added to the soup have come together to taste like, and then I can determine what else I want to add to it. So I have some onions left over from last year's harvest, so I'm going to use them. I'm going to put the stove on. I'm going to add a little bit of avocado oil. It's really not that much. It's just so that nothing sticks to the bottom of the pan. I'm gonna put these in here because they're frozen and it's gonna take them a little while. And then I just decided that I would add this much of the garlic scapes to the pot. I might regret it. It might be too garlicky. My husband has been known to tell me that it's a little garlicky, but you know, I come from an Italian family, so we use a lot of garlic. So in it goes. So I'm gonna let this simmer a little bit. I'm gonna grab that broth and we're gonna cut up the zucchini that's going in here as well. So last year I made some bone broth. I don't think I did a video on it. I can't remember right now. I think there's too much going on in my kitchen for me to remember. But what I did do is I used a silicone muffin tray, and once I had the bone broth made, I poured them into the silicone trays, the muffin trays, popped them into the freezer. Once they were frozen, I popped them out, and they're like these little pucks. Now this is half a cup. So I'm gonna pop a couple of these out and throw them in my soup because bone broth is amazing for you, and it's one way of getting good nutrients into your kids without them knowing. So I'm going to pull a bunch of them out of here, throw them in that pot, and help the onions and garlic to simmer up with it. So I just wanted to show you what the pot looks like right now. Again, I added in 4 of these half cup bone broth pucks. And then the onions, I'm gonna say there's probably a good, 3 cups of onions here. And then of course we have probably 2 cups of, no, maybe 1 cup of the garlic. But again, it wasn't packed into the bowl. It was just kind of lightly thrown in the bowl. So I think this is going to make an amazing soup base. And I can't wait to add more to it. That extra light green zucchini. I remembered last minute I was actually going to throw in the big green one as well because it's about filled up to about here right now. And everybody in my family likes it when I make soup. And I'm not sure if I mentioned this, but we have pulled chicken left in the fridge. So what we like to do with our soup is throw some pulled chicken on top, or really any meat that you have in your fridge, with some cheese. I'll put crispy onions on it, and I'll make some garlic bread, and then that's our dinner for the night. So I was gonna throw that big green zucchini in here just to make more, because I also like freezing this in individual containers, and then when I have to go to work, it's easy for me. I just grab one of those soups and whatever else I'm gonna be adding onto the top of it. But I remembered that my husband sent me a recipe for, I think it's zucchini bites. And so in a bowl, you put shredded zucchini with egg and some cheese and spices, and then you fry them, or I'm not sure if it was in the air fryer or in the pan, but you crispy them up, and then you can make a dip and you can put that out for people to have as an hors d'oeuvre before dinner arrives. And so we are having people over, and I thought I'm gonna shred that zucchini, put it in the fridge, not the freezer, and then depending on what I'm making, I can decide whether or not I'm gonna use that to make zucchini bites. So I think what we're gonna do now is put the lid on this. We're going to let this simmer. This will probably simmer for a good 2 hours. I'm I'm gonna go check the smoking garlic. And then I think what I'm gonna do is pull out the raspberries. I wanna get them into the freezer as well. And then I need to eat something. That's the thing about kitchen days, right? Like you often forget that you actually need to replenish your energy and what you're doing. And so yes, I'm drinking coffee. I think I might have warmed my coffee up 5 times now and have only sipped it. So I think what I might do is check the garlic, and then I'm gonna drink some of my coffee, have a little bit of water as well, and then start back into it. Okay, so before I have something to eat, let's just take a quick peek. This has been out here now for about 35 minutes and everything is looking like it should. I'm seeing the color changing just slightly. I'm also seeing that, you know, things are starting to soften up. Yeah, like I can really tell that the harder parts are really starting to soften up. So that's perfect. I'm gonna let this go probably for another 30 minutes. After I have something to eat, I will check it again. Okay, break is over. Wasn't much of a break. I folded a load of laundry, got a load of laundry into the dryer. I moved the dehydrator from the dining room to the screen room because nobody wants to smell the garlic while it dries. It actually burns our eyes. That and onions you never want to do inside. We are going to layer this cookie sheet and parchment paper with these raspberries that we picked from our bushes, and I'm gonna get it into the freezer. Then that is one thing done on the list. We're then gonna cut this up and shred it through the food dehydrator or the food processor. Then I'm gonna give you a quick update to see how the soup is going. We're gonna check on the garlic scapes because by then, so as of right now, they have been out in the smoker for about an hour and a half. So I figure it'll take me a few minutes to do the raspberries, a couple minutes for this. We'll head out there, take a look at that. I might be able to move them right into the dehydrator. So that would be good. That would be another thing off of the list. Okay, so again, the reason that I want to lay these all out is so that as they freeze, they will freeze basically as individual berries and not as a clump. And then that way, when you're pulling some out for a smoothie, put on your yogurt, you can grab a handful as opposed to a block of raspberries. Okay, and so these are gonna go straight into the freezer. I've already made space for them. I'm gonna cut the ends off. Again, I have my spoon so that I can de-seed it because I don't want the seeds. Okay, let's see here. I have my chicken bucket still. And we're just going to take some of these out. These aren't very big considering how big the squash or big the zucchini is. I'm impressed. I think it's a hit and miss when it comes to seeds, to be honest. So for this particular part of the project, I need to shred these. So I have this attachment here that allows the shredding process to happen. So all I do is I stick it on to the stem here, the base. It's in there. I stick it into the food processor. I stick the lid on and I pull out a little piece here. Now I don't know if these are gonna fit. I'm gonna have to cut them smaller. But when I said this would be done in a couple minutes, I was not kidding. So I'm gonna cut all these up so that I can just turn it on and keep going. Okay, here we go. feel extremely lucky that we now have a food processor. Up until now, I've had to shred everything by hand, and I can't tell you how much this machine has saved me in time. So many projects that I've used it for has cut the time down drastically. So here I'm just putting everything into the bag. I will then put this bag into my fridge and keep it for later. Okay, so let's take a look. So as I had hoped, using the lighter colored squash is going to keep this a nice light color. So that is going really good. Everything is, ooh, I'm steaming up. Everything is looking good. I saw a couple seeds in there, but they will blend up. It's not a big deal. Okay, let's go check on the garlic. Okay, so it's been an hour and a half. I think I'm going to pull this out now. I'm not really a fan of how it's getting too dark over here. The idea is not to necessarily cook it, but to smoke it. So I will pull this out and pop it into the dehydrator. So one of the things that I'm going to do with these before I put them in my food dehydrator is stick them on the table in the screen room for about 10 minutes. I want to make sure that these trays are not hot before they go into the dehydrator. I'm actually going to be sliding these onto the plastic trays that are actually in the dehydrator, and I don't want these to melt those trays in any way. So I'm just going to stick these on the glass table that I have in there and let them cool off, and then I'll pop them in the dehydrator. After letting the trays cool for a good 10 minutes on that glass table, I decided that it was time to place them into the dehydrator. As you can see, I removed every other shelf, and all 5 trays fit perfectly into the dehydrator. The dehydrator that I'm using is the Excalibur. It is the 9 tray, and I can't say enough good things about this dehydrator. I absolutely love it. I love that I have the ability to remove the trays and use them exactly the way I'm using them right now. So let's start this. Right now it's in the off position. I want to do it like the vegetables. And so the vegetables are saying 125. So I'm just going to put it there. And to start off, I think I'm going to do about 4 hours. I don't know that it'll need that long. I mean, it was in the smoker for an hour and a half, but you know, we want to make sure it's done properly. So I will check back in 2 hours. In an effort to save you a little bit of time, because this video is already so long, I have sped this up. So I added sugar to the chopped up rhubarb and set it aside in a very large bowl with a very old school hand mixer. I blended up the butter and the sugar. I then added in some Greek yogurt instead of sour cream like the recipe said, because it has more protein. I then added in some vanilla that I got from Punta Cana. I then added in the thawed bananas, mixed it all up, and added in the gluten-free flour because we try to be as gluten-free as we can. After which I added in the cinnamon and the baking powder, and again gave that all a really good mix. When it was done, I added in that rhubarb and sugar. On to the next project for today. I have mentioned to you that I wanted to pickle some onions. So what I'm actually pickling is the small little onion bulbs at the tops of the Egyptian walking onion stalks. And so this is what they look like. And so what I've done is I pulled off a whole bunch of them. I have 3 pounds of them in here. Now there's 8 cups of water as well. So there's 8 cups of water in here with a quarter cup, actually a half a cup of salt. So This sat in here all night. I have a lid on them to keep the onions suppressed into that brine. What I'm gonna do now is rinse them. I'm then going to throw them into a pot of boiling water just to quickly blanch them. I realized that, okay, water's boiled. I quickly realized that as I tried to remove the paper from one of the onions, that they're still too hard. You know, you want to be able to pop one of these onions into your mouth off of a charcuterie board or, you know, out of your Caesar, just like a pearl onion. So you don't necessarily want a mouthful of pickled raw onion. And so I just want to blanch them quickly. One, to help cook them a little bit, and two, to help me remove all the papers. So if I blanch them, I should be able to pull those papers off the outer layer of that onion fairly quick, because like I said, I have 3 pounds of them here. So let's get rinsing them. Let's get them in that water. I'm gonna do a quick count and pull those onions out and then start removing the paper. So this is gonna be a chore, I know. Look at the beautiful colors. Gorgeous. Okay, so while we allow the onions to blanch literally for 1 to 2 minutes, I am going to use my immersion blender and blend up the soup because it is ready. So we're gonna start doing that, and it is steamy in here. Okay, this is going to be a beautiful yellow color. So pretty. I don't know about you, but I find that my kids like the soup better when it's not green. I don't know if that's just a kid thing or what, but that's what I have found. Okay, so those onions have been in there now for literally 1.5 minutes. So that's good. Okay, I'm gonna give the onions another stir. You know, they feel very hard to me still, so they've been in there for 3 minutes. I'm gonna give them another 2 minutes and finish. Now what I'm gonna do is do a quick taste test of the soup because, as I mentioned earlier, I don't like putting a whole lot of spices into it until I've tasted all of the vegetables meshing together. And it is steaming. Yummy. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some of my eggplant. So this is a secret ingredient that nobody knows in the household that I'm adding it. My husband wouldn't care, but everybody else would care. Because I dehydrated it and powdered it up, nobody knows. Also, these lids are from my Parmesan cheese, so it's awesome. I just open it up, pour some in. And this eggplant is from my garden from last year. I'm also gonna add in some paprika from my garden from last year. And I'm gonna go heavy on it because we like paprika. And I'm gonna stop and give these, they still feel very hard. Okay, and then I have some homegrown oregano. I'm gonna turn it down a smidgen. Okay, throw that in there. And then I have a little bit of cumin that I want to add in. And I'm going to grab some salt Okay, a little bit of salt. Probably a teaspoon in total. And I'm going to blend again. Just looking at okay. I'm gonna let that steep for a little bit with those, and I'm gonna remove the onions from here and into that colander again. Okay, so we are going to check to see if the rhubarb banana bread is done. So I usually just use a fork and I jab it in. If nothing comes out on the fork, then it's done. Ugh. I'm gonna say, there's a little bit on there, I'm gonna say 10 more minutes, then it's done. The next step is to make the brine. So you need 2 cups of malt vinegar and 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. Now I doubled the amount of onions, so I'm using 3 pounds of onions instead of 1.5. So I have to double the amount of brine that I'm making. So I know that one of these equals 2 cups. So I'm just going to pour that bottle in here instead of measuring it again. And then I'm gonna add 4 tablespoons of sugar to it. And then I'm gonna put this on the stove and get it boiling. So there's 1, oh my God, it's burning my eyes. 2, 3, 4. Okay, and I'm going to whisk it. I just want to make sure that it's all dissolved. Okay, so I'm gonna get this boiled and we are going to pack the jars with the onions. We have bay leaves, we have some peppercorns, we have pepper flakes, we have all kinds of stuff that we're gonna put in the jars. And then once the brine is ready, you pour that over top and then we seal the jars up and we hot water bath them. Here I am stuffing all of the jars with the onions, making sure that I add in the spices. We have hot pepper flakes, we have pickling, allspice, black peppercorns, bay leaves, and I'm just making sure every jar has a little bit of something layered in with those onions. Next, I'm going to be adding in the brine, and I'm going to make sure that that brine comes to 1/4 inch from the top. We are on the home stretch. So it has been a long day in the kitchen today. So I'm going to be putting 9 jars of pickled onions, pub style, into my canner. I'm gonna start the 10-minute clock or the 10-minute timer once the water is boiling. So I don't want to start that timer until then. And I want to make sure that there is at least 1 inch of headspace in here. I think I'm probably gonna add in a couple jars. I feel like these might, let me see. Here is a look at the rhubarb banana bread. I was actually just gonna cut into it and have a piece with a drink and realized that I hadn't shown it to you yet as fully cooked. So I just wanted to show that to you. I also wanted to show you the egg harvest that we had today. What is this? So our silkies have not laid an egg in about 2 weeks, and I'm just wondering if this is a silky egg. So if I show you the two together, I think it's hilarious how little those eggs are, and I'm thankful that we only have 2 silkies. Okay, so we're on to the next and final part of our kitchen day. Friends, as I'm editing this video, I realized that I didn't even show you the soup. I did come across this little clip that I had taken. The before and after this clip is hilarious because I'm actually posing in the camera, trying to get a good picture for this video, but here it is anyways. Let's talk a little bit about the apron. I have to say, when I first put it on, I don't think I liked it. I don't think I liked the material. I didn't like that it didn't have pockets. I hadn't tied it up properly, and so within half an hour you couldn't tell, but it was down to here. And so I fixed it, whatever. I have to say, I like wearing the apron. I set the bar high for my first kitchen video. Wish me luck on actually editing this video because it is going on 5 hours long. So I'm gonna have to be pretty creative in pulling out what I want to share with you. But there's one last thing that I have to do, but I'm exhausted now. I still have to put my laundry away. So I think rather than cutting up all of these peppers, I'm only gonna cut up enough for the kebabs. The rest will be done tomorrow. So when I get up, I will grab a coffee and probably come into the kitchen and watch a YouTube show or listen to a podcast and cut up peppers while I drink my coffee. And those peppers will go directly into the freezer. So these ones will be for the kebabs. So let's talk about what I did today. Like, I can't even believe it myself. So we made smoked garlic scape powder. Well, I shouldn't say we've made it. The smoked garlic scapes are actually in the dehydrator. I just checked them. They've been in there for about 2 hours. They definitely need another 2 hours, maybe double that. So I'll check them again. If they need more when it's time for me to hit the sack, then I'll just put the timer on and gauge it how long I think they need and check them again in the morning. I will then blend them tomorrow. There's my oven warming up for something else. We made the rhubarb banana bread, which I was just gonna have a piece of. I have extra rhubarb for the freezer. We shredded the zucchini. I made zucchini soup, which is amazing. I like spice to mine, and it has spice. So, you know, I better tell everyone in the family to grab a glass of milk when they have dinner tonight. I'm sure it'll be fine once they throw on their cheese and their chicken and their crispy onions and everything bagel spice. It will be amazing. And the boiling that you hear right now is the pickled Egyptian walking onions. So they have about 6 minutes left, and then they're done. I'll pull them out, wait for the magical popping noise, and call it a day. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. Let me know below if you are interested in seeing these kind of videos again, and have a great day.